Hello and welcome to the last but not least section of the people track, though really people is cloud native transformations, cloud native transformation is people. So if you're asking what the fuck is cloud native, it's really backed by people. So there'll be more of people, but the last of track 2 today. So thank you so much. I think this is a really important topic because I don't think it's talked about enough. It's basically like a 4-year degree becomes a check, or it becomes just that checkbox, but it's not really relevant anymore, things like that. Because by the time a textbook is published, well, what happens? So I'm really excited for Sergio's talk about building the next generation of cloud native engineers. And I'm really excited for y'all to ask your questions because I know there's some mentees and students and different open source contributors in the audience. So I know you want to ask your questions and learn, and then share your learning at hashtag W2F is cloud native. Thank you so much, Sergio. Muchas gracias.
Okay, so how do you all? My talk is building the next generation of cloud native engineers. I am Sergio Mendez. Well, this is me. Well, you can see my look or everything. I am a operating system professor at USAC. I am from Guatemala. I also work as a DevOps engineer at Yalo, playing with Kubernetes, using Argo and that kind of crazy things. I am also a Linkerd ambassador. Linkerd is a service mesh. And I am also a CNCF meetup organizer here in Guatemala. I have a community called Cloud Native Guatemala. So let's get started with my story. This is important because it's the way that I trying to build these new skills for students. So between the years 2007 and 2017, more or less, is my story that pushed me to contribute and help the students to build new skills. So I started when I was studying in the university, almost at the end, in the last year of the university. I picked a ground job. I was thinking about picking a programmer job when I was thinking in that moment to be a sysadmin or something similar. I spent like 2 times there. Well, I learned a lot of things, but I was feeling pretty uncomfortable because was not like I was trying to find and work on that time. So I graduated in 2009. Then I remember that I took like a year more or less, like, well, thinking about what I have to do to take another job or something. So I started to be an entrepreneur in that moment. I was trying to find a way to create something. That's my spirit, to create things. So in that moment, I remember that I started to experiment. Let's say that I have that idea to sell CRM systems and, well, taking like a virtual machine to deploy that thing there, sell the things. And I remember that I discovered the cloud computing because of Rackspace in that moment, was like a huge cloud computing provider in that moment. At the same time, I was like teaching in the university. That was something that I was looking for when I finished the university in that moment. So I started to teaching. I started to teaching operating systems course in that moment. Let's say that in 2013, I started to travel with a friend. The curious thing is that I traveled because to be an interpreter for my friend because he doesn't know how to speak in English. We went to some conference about safety kind of products like gloves, helms, and that kind of things. Nothing about technology. So I tell to myself, like, why not to go to a conference about technology? At the same moment, let's say that in 2015 and 2017, I started to do some small consulting jobs. Like I started to experiment with Kubernetes and that things. So between 2017 and 2021, I started to went to a conference about technology. I went to an open source summit from Linux Foundation in LA. I went to OSCOM as an attendee in 2018. I went to as attendee. I remember that I met some people on the open source summit on Los Angeles. Some Mexican people say that why not to try to go to OSCOM, but you have to apply to a scholarship because it's really expensive. So I went there, I meet new people. I remember that some of the staff of O'Reilly told me and challenged me that why not to try to apply to be a speaker the next year at OSCOM. So but try, they select my talk, was a really important challenge for me, speaking in English for the first time, to be a speaker in English. Well, I speak Spanish. So I picked this challenge. Then the same year, I remember that there was another conference on Mexico. So I went on to Mexico. That conference was about how to contribute to open source and that things. So I was like really challenged on that time, like where I have to do something for my country, create some group or everything. So I started to try to find my own space in my country to create something like a group about technology, something about Linux. So I found my space on CNCF. So CNCF in that moment had like one Kubernetes group in Guatemala, but was in that moment, that group was inactive. So I decided to create this cloud native Guatemala at my country. So I started to move the things, was in 2019. And I remember that was some Thursday, it was raining, and well, I started in my bed streaming that thing, pretty interesting. Then, well, I started to move into the community of Guatemala. Then I decide, let's say that my first time experience of OSCON to be a speaker was not like my best experience, was my first experience. So I dared to myself, like, why not to try again, to be better and improve myself speaking. So I tried to apply to KubeCon Europe and in 2020. And well, they picked my talk. I talked in the virtual event. I almost traveled to Amsterdam, but was canceled because of the pandemic and that thing. Well, so I started, let's say, my career or moving, meeting people around CNCF. I started to participate in podcasts, meetups, other conference. Right now, I am getting involved in CNCF students, the part of CNCF that is trying to move the students, but I am trying to move the things in Spanish. Well, right now, my last things is that I am writing a book for PACT Editorial, but I expect to finish the next year. So it's like a big challenge. All these things are about cloud native technologies. So in general, I say it's time to share what I know. So how I can do that? Well, let's say that some of the goals to share with my students were like, try to build these new cloud native engineers, not just programmers, trying to build their skills. Try to find opportunities, scholarships for the students, find that opportunities or create opportunities for the students. Create or find job opportunities for the students, and expose this talent that is in my country to like a kind of exportation of guys to the tech industries, because we have a lot of talent in Guatemala, but sometimes because of the language, they cannot apply to a remote job or something. So that's like the big challenges of this. So I was trying to transform these local skills, the mindset just to be programmers, into international skills, like develop these kind of skills to be a DevOps engineer, or using more newer technologies like Kubernetes, containers, cloud computing, and that's thing. So this like the big challenge, this kind of transformation. Let's say that maybe I took like 2 or 3 years to renew the content of my courses, renew the mindset, learn myself about new technologies and everything. The way to get engagement or motivation for my students is, well, let's say that the number one for my students is to find a job. That's the thing that they are interested about, find a job. So I was trying to find opportunities, create voluntary activities for them to participate in communities and everything. Well, in my class, I tried to create score contribution activities in the class to push my students to participate. I don't know, the mindset of my people is like, well, we don't contribute, we scare a little bit to talk with people outside the country and everything. Another motivation is to meet people around the world, and of course have like a secure way or a space to practice the English. The rules that I follow is like be open to questions all the time. I try to be friend all the time to make that kind of trust with my students, build that confidence for them, have that sense of humor, like this kind of cosplay that I am wearing right now. I always try to share my knowledge without being selfish, share all the things that I know, experiment all the time in the course, play with new technologies, trying to play with the new things that the industry are using right now, and be inclusive, because in this kind of career, about like, let's say a lot of people is male, but where are the females? So I try to be inclusive in that way. Right now, because of this kind of activities, the things that we are doing right now, we have been participating with Curia Fans, CNCF project, Linkerd presenting our final project to Linkerd people, and Chaos Mesh that are from China, but we are like playing with Chaos Engineering right now. And of course, the meetups of CloudNet Guatemala. They are participating, my students there. And of course, because of that, let's say that I am creating a kind of character for my students. Some people on the CNCF ecosystem call me the professor, so I think that I have to adopt that kind of nickname, the professor. And some success stories of my students. Here's Juan Pablo that participate on our Ops and Chill, a meetup just for students on CloudNet Guatemala. He also participated with Courier Fans, creating some charts for Rancher. Brandon participated doing a talk about GitLab pipelines with Kubernetes. Josie Castrillo participated talking about Chaos Engineering, Linkerd, and Chaos Mesh. He also participated on the Service MeshCon Europe. I was like the co-speaker. He was like the primary speaker in that moment, just trying to push my students. And other students present the final project of the class on the Kubernetes Community Days Spain. All these guys presented the thing and everything. It was really awesome talk. Right now, they are working on the final project. And what is coming right now? Well, with these skins that they are building, they can apply to the Google Summer of Code. They can participate to the CNCF students or the part of mentorship of Linux Foundation LFX and apply to job opportunities outside the country. And right now, our big class project is the Kubernetes Community Days Guatemala. We are working on that. The students are working on that. And this November 26, 27. And I can finalize with this. When you open a door for others, you sometimes open the doors for yourself. Well, who knows? I am trying to open the doors for my students. I don't know if I am open a door for me, but the point is to share the knowledge with students. So my slides are here in this link. You can contact me on Twitter and all the social networks with this user. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias por tu charla, profesor. Pues bueno, so many questions, but one thing you said that you're opening doors for yourself maybe and for your students, but also it sounds like you're opening doors for your country. And I think that's really important, and don't downgrade that part of the talk, because I think that's very important. And then I have so many questions, but my immediate response was, well, yeah, they do need to learn to speaking English will benefit them, but maybe the open source community would benefit from them translating documentation to Spanish or translating code into Spanish. It is the second or third most spoken language in the world, I believe.
Yeah.
So maybe the open source community, CNCF, et cetera, need to be better at adapting to that massive marketplace.
Yeah, I think that is right. But I think that the first people that have to pick that opportunity has to know how to speak in English in order to move this kind of tasks to the people to create content in Spanish. So yeah,
Sure.
but definitely we have to work on build content in Spanish in all the way, all the projects and everything. That's
in the blogs, everything, and it may be their better chance from like an SEO standpoint. Anyway, I think the most important question to ask is, how can people listening to this live and listening to this recording later help you and your students? What do you need from companies right now to help you?
Well, I think that, let's say, for example, maybe to be open for this kind of junior students, because let's say that, for example, the companies are just looking for senior or to have 5 years of experience, but there are a lot of talent with the students that maybe don't have the experience in a place to work, but they have like 5 years of experience programming in the university. So they just only have to learn the conduct around the work, how to meet people, talk with the people, meetings, and that kind of flow are, yeah, I think that for the industry, just to be open for junior students.
Also, some of the areas like that Cheryl Hung's talk, she highlighted all these new areas, all the main areas of cloud native. Some of them don't have 5 years experience. GitOps, FinOps has like 1 or 2 years. So train people, apprentice, paid internships, emphasis on the word paid.
Yeah, that's
it's a good emphasis.
Let's say I have an example.
Go.
For example, right now even in the Kubernetes community is Guatemala, there are a student that is a graphic designer, and I am paying for her for all the designs. So she's like designing all the logos and everything. So she's really happy, and she's getting some money too for that work. So
super important. Great. So I do have to question one thing about everything you shared. How is it going to scale? Because you do seem to want to bring it to a larger country scale, industry scale, maybe international scale or regional scale. How can what you're doing be replicated at other universities or also boot camps or open source communities? How does it scale?
Well, I think that right now there's a small kind of movement. We are like, let's say 5 guys like trying to work on cloud native Latin America. But it's pretty funny. I don't know what's happening with Latino people. Like they don't get like involved. Well, it's not like too easy to get involved with people from Latam on that kind of things. Maybe I think that we struggle or we scare a little bit about maybe the language or maybe the skills that foreign people has, like let's say how I can compare with people from India or from China, from US or something. In some way, some of our people don't have that kind of skills, but well, that's the challenge, to have to be at the same level to apply and to open that kind of opportunities. But I think that we have to work together with different countries. I am trying to, like you say, to create like the model that other students or professors can replicate. Right now it's happened with Nicaragua, but Nicaragua is not like creating their own group. They need to teach more kind of technologies to the students. So it's complicated. Costa Rica is ready. Salvador, born in Cloud Native Guatemala, they created their own group. So, well, I think that for us, work the communication and the motivation and that kind of things in order to replicate or maybe copy. Yeah.
That's okay. Hey, we're a country, we're a community of cyborgs today, so it's totally okay to replicate.
A separate country, a country on its own.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you, Sergio, and buena suerte con todo.
Gracias.
Whatever you say. Gracias. That's what I know.
No worries. That was really awesome, and I think that was a really important topic. If we're going to close out the people session, talking about the people of the future, because well, first of all, future, and Sergio nailed his costume, but it does come down to how are we getting more people involved, because cloud native is new and it's nebulous and it's changing constantly. So I think that was a great way to end. What do you think, Roman?
Well, I totally agree. This is also something I actually faced for myself, and then I also faced for my younger brother. I wanted him once to try this job, but yeah, it's not that friendly, mostly because it's also a bit vague, right? So when it's development, it's super simple. Oh, Java, just go learn Java. Oh, nice. You go into DevOps / cloud native. Yeah, you get the programming languages, you get scripting, you get cloud knowledge, right? You get systems knowledge. It's like so many things. And it's so important to have a framework for younger people to get in. Well, actually, my brother ended up doing a completely different thing. He's a 3D artist now. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Also important.
Not because of that, but because it's something he really liked.
That's great. That's super important to follow your passion. Well, thank you so much, Roman, for going on this what the fuck are people in cloud native adventure.
Did you mean me or?
Yeah, I met you. Thank you so much, Roman, for going on that adventure with me today.
Yeah, it was really good. A bit tiring, but good.
And I'll see everyone back at the panel.
Yeah, see you at the panel.
Thank you so much to our sponsors too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.